Welcome back to our next episode of Watson Drops. I'm Kirby Dolak of LCTV, and today we're back again with Nick Lawler, General Manager of the Littleton Electric Light and Water Department. Last episode on Watson Drops, we met with Corey Godfrey, Environmental Analyst of the Littleton Water Department, who shared the history of the Water Department's responses to local communities' water contaminants, the origin of the Littleton Aquifer Protection Program. Corey explained about the short-term plans and possible long-term plans by the Water Department to deal with the PFAS contamination found not only in Speck Pond well, but also in the Whitcomb Avenue wells. Corey explained the mechanics of the temporary solution and its expense. Which brings us to today, with our guest, Nick Lawler again, to explain in more concrete terms what the high-level engineering plans may be to deal with PFAS in our water supply. Nick, thanks for coming back again.
Pleasure to be here.
Good. Thanks for taking the time to continue that discussion on the possible long-term plans of PFAS.
Great. You're not going to say it out this time?
Oh, polyfluoroalkyl substances. How about that? You got to do that again. Yeah. All right. All right. So, Nick, what's changed since the last we spoke to you and Corey?
It's a great question. A lot's changed. This is every day is something new with this situation. And I can't, it's probably a good time now to let the public know about how dedicated our staff has been, work around the clock, from Kevin Hunt, Corey Godfrey, Paul De Niro, working nonstop to try to solve this issue. It's complicated. It's public health risk, one the Mass DEP takes very seriously. With that being said, we've been working and talking with CDM Smith, our engineering firm.
Okay.
They're talking with them daily, trying to work towards solutions so we can stop talking about the problem and start fixing it. And the Mass DEP. The Mass DEP has been involved for a long time on this with us since August, but they've been dealing, like we said before, in communities such as Air and Westfield. And they're working, we met with them yesterday, and they talked yesterday about developing that mass contaminant level soon. That language should be available by the end of this year. And then there's a process the DEP goes through to set that regulation. So yesterday we met we had an engineering workshop. It lasted 6 hours long.
Wow.
We had staff there, the staff I just told you about. The engineering firm, CDM, was there. Mass DEP, all from Mary Jude Pigsley, the director of Worcester.
Wow.
Came down from it. So it's something we invited all state agencies, and they showed up to help, take it seriously. We had our board there. We had two of our board members there. And we went into it with, a lot of little possible solutions. It came out with one. And it was through a lot of brainstorming and collaboration with both our staff, the firm, our board, and Mass DEP that we started to narrow down our solutions for handling this issue.
Wow. So what happens at town meeting to make the amended design plans, or what needs to happen, I should say, at town meeting to make those amended design plans that Corey talked about for the Whitcomb plant a reality to remove PFAS from our main drinking water source?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, we're very optimistic at the water department. We tend to always tell people the good news.
Right.
We tend to tell you if and when you vote yes in Article 12, here's what we do.
Right.
I'd like to almost start with the bad news and say, if we don't vote yes on 12, if we vote no, what the ramifications are, because they're drastic. And I don't think we've done a great job yet at letting the public know how drastic they are.
So give me some examples of when you say drastic, Nick.
So if we vote no, if Article 12 is not successful, the Mass DEP at some point soon, at some point early 2020, will instruct us to take Speck Pond well offline. They've already asked us to minimize the usage of Speck Pond, which we have. It's been offline now for almost a month, which this time of year is not a big deal. But Speck Pond's 42% of our capacity.
Wow.
If we don't pass Article 12, Whitcomb Ave continues to be untreated water, unfiltered water.
So the same manganese and other contaminants that they're that area
Yep.
is running into, the whole town will get exposed
Right,
to.
so that's 38% of our capacity, but now you just took 42% of it away. That's going to go towards Whitcomb. So 80% of our water will be that poor quality.
Wow.
And quality that we've been asked by residents for years to improve.
Interesting.
You want the good news now?
Yeah, I was going to say, I got the drastic piece now.
Yeah, well,
Give me the good news.
This town's always been very supportive of the water department and our leadership and our team, and we are optimistic they will vote yes on this.
Okay.
Because yes allows us to fix PFAS. We will take PFAS out of the water for Spec Pond and Whitcomb Ave.
Down to a specific level.
Well, in the beginning, it'll be under 20 parts per trillion.
Right.
But our ultimate goal at the new Whitcomb Ave treatment plant is going to be to remove it.
Wow.
Strip it
Okay.
out.
That piece, that didn't come across, and maybe I didn't understand that one from Corey's conversation then.
Right. It allows us to continue to be stewards of the environment.
Okay.
This is the only article, solution that we brought forward that actually places a conservation designation on land. We're going to designate 2.75 acres of water department land as Article 97 conservation designation, which will protect that land,
So
forever.
are there any ecological issues and comments? I think one point in time when we did the tour of the Whitcomb Avenue site with Corey, he made reference to one of the spots down by the old pump house where there's actually a nesting ground for some freshwater turtles, and
Yep.
that the plan was to bring those back, or what was that all about?
That site that we're trying to conserve is very important for two reasons.
Okay.
One is it's important to the water department for Zone 1 protection, which I know we've talked about here many times, but we'll talk about it again. That's a 400-foot radius around those wells.
Right.
It's the recharge area for those wells. It's the
Right.
most important part of the aquifer.
Right.
We should not be building inside of Zone 1. In fact, the DEP's been quoted as saying the best use of Zone 1 is no use.
Right.
So we don't want to build in Zone 1. And actually, with this plan here, we will be restoring that parcel of land to its natural state,
Okay.
which we've started already. I think you might have seen, or we might have talked about demoing of that highway garage.
Right.
So
I
we're
think that's in process,
we're in
right?
the process of demoing that. We're going to restore that site to a field, which again, that's an endangered species habitat site. There's
Right.
blanding turtles there,
Right.
which are endangered species.
Okay.
And we're also going to end up, removing ourselves from the Spec Pond treatment plant in the end, which again is in Zone 1.
Okay.
So our staff has been focused on getting human activity outside of Zone 1.
Okay. Okay.
And I guess the other good part about voting yes on our article is we have continually bring to the public the most fiscally responsible way to solve this problem. We're asking for a lot of money.
Right.
It was $7 million in the spring.
Yes.
It's $6 million now.
Right.
We're not done. We're biting off chunks of this problem.
Right.
And we understand, especially in a climate where, the people taxes, we hear it all the time, the taxes are going up. We're very conscious of trying to, do things in the best interest of the ratepayers.
Right.
But public health comes at a cost.
Right. Oh, it does. It
So
does.
this solution is the most economical.
Okay. So, just recently received this nice two-pager
Yeah.
from you folks, providing residents about immediate things they should be doing or not doing until you get the town to vote on the whole PFAS plan, so to speak.
Right.
Can you go over what that information, was about and why it got sent out when it did?
Yeah, so that's something, again, that we worked very closely with the Mass DEP on. We're trying to communicate the health risks to PFAS exposure,
Right.
especially through drinking water.
Yep.
And I think last time I was here, we talked about exposure to PFAS, and it's,
The sensitive groups, right?
well, not just that, but there's PFAS probably in this carpet right here.
Yes, yes.
Probably in this chair.
Right.
But we're obviously just concerned about exposure through water.
Right.
And there's a sensitive subgroup, as identified by the Mass CDC, that should limit the exposure to this, to PFAS altogether.
Okay.
And that, we should say it again, but that sensitive subgroup is pregnant women,
Right.
nursing mothers, and children on the age of 1.
Okay.
And again, if there's, we've been, since that went out, we have received probably 30 to 50 calls.
Oh, good.
And we encourage, concerned residents to continue to call our offices.
Yeah, I was going to say, why don't you, right now say what the number or who the contact people are. We'll redo it again at the end.
Sure, you call our main number, 978-540-2222.
Okay.
Ask for Corey Godfrey.
Okay.
He's been handling these questions since day one. We sent the letter out back in August. It didn't cause.
Yeah.
No, yeah. People didn't were too
Yeah.
concerned. This one definitely raised the attention a little bit.
Right.
Which is good because we're trying to get the word out. That there's an issue here, and the Mass DEP appreciates that.
Good, good. So what's the critical decision path that the town and the water department's got to follow to implement this PFAS plan?
Yeah, that one's almost impossible to answer.
Well, you know me, I like to give you difficult questions, Nick.
We asked the Mass DEP probably that same exact question,
Right.
10 times yesterday. And they're unsure themselves how they're going to roll out the mass contaminant level, whether it's going to be.
The MCL is going to be?
What it's,
Yep.
No, they were pretty clear it's going to be 20.
Oh, okay, so
But
the maximum contamination level is
it's gonna be
20 parts per
trillion.
trillion. Okay.
But when is that going to come into effect? How is that going to come into effect? They don't know yet. They're hesitant to tell communities until they know.
Right.
And I think we talked about this before last time I was here. Because of the Flint, Michigan effect, regulators are very
Gun shy, I'm sure.
yeah, and they're concerned. Their goal is to protect public health. That's their number one goal, and that's what they're trying to do. And we want to work with them towards that. This article allows us flexibility. We knew we needed more than $6 million. I'm sure we'll get into that later.
Right.
But this allows us flexibility for whatever roadmap we need to go down for a temporary solution for sure, but also start working towards a permanent solution.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about Whitcomb Avenue. How will that design that was planned for Whitcomb Avenue change? And at what cost to deal with PFAS? And as we talked about earlier, the other contaminants, the manganese, there were a few other items that were there. How does that design process change, and what do you think the cost is likely to be, Nick?
Yeah, so so we're talking about more of the permanent solution here.
Right.
The Mass DEP and CDM Smith and our staff all agreed that the best solution was a single plant.
Okay.
So that plant now at Whitcomb Ave will be sized appropriately for both the Whitcomb Ave well source and Spec Pond.
Okay.
So that's about $2.5 million additional cost to expand the footprint and the processes of that facility.
Okay.
But there's also cost for a transmission main to tie the two together.
Right. How many miles did you estimate for piping the 12-inch?
Well, it's about maybe 3.5 miles.
Okay.
And I think we can, with our appropriation at this town meeting, we can start that work. It won't be enough to finish it.
Okay.
It depends how much the temporary solution ends up costing. But we're thinking maybe it's half enough money to start the transmission main and take care of the temporary solution.
Okay.
But we also need additional funding, and this will be next Springtown meeting, to amend the borrowing for Whitcomb Ave to add in PFAS filtration.
Okay.
But all the water from Spec Pond at Whitcomb Ave will be treated for PFAS at that facility, at that location.
Okay. So once town residents vote to support 12, I'm being optimistic here because we did talk plus and minus here. What's going to happen next? And then what do you estimate the water rate impact is going to be to residents?
Sure. The thing that's going to happen next has already happened because we're also optimistic that we will prevail. So we will continue to engage CDM.
Right.
And there'll be additional scopes of work. Such as we have the temporary solution that needs to be designed.
Okay.
So the temporary solution is going to be to tie the finished water from Spec Pond to Beaver Brook, the finished water from our Beaver Brook site.
Okay.
And blend the water,
blend
the source water.
Okay.
To get underneath that threshold.
The 20%?
The 20
parts per trillion,
correct.
sorry.
Now, some of the good stuff that came out of our workshop yesterday from staff, actually, CDM had designed that all to be in the ground, and it's a temporary water main.
Right.
So there's probably about half of that water main, temporary water main, could be converted to our distribution system and add value in the future.
Oh, that's good thinking.
But half of it adds no value.
Okay.
So we can go overland with that.
Okay.
Which was a significant cost savings with that hybrid solution.
Versus putting it underground, right?
Which was putting it all on the ground.
Right.
There's some challenges of operating that water main in the winter, but
Yeah. Well, they're probably going to have enough flow through it to keep it unfrozen.
That's the hope. So stuff like that will move forward. We got to design that. We got to install that. We need to redesign Whitcomb Ave.
Okay.
So that would end up, starting.
Okay.
We haven't, the Whitcomb Ave is designed. We're ready to go, but now things change.
Right.
Which is okay. It's not a complete redo, but we need to modify that design.
Yeah, I mean, I think you had mentioned before that you had planned for that facility to have some room for these kind of gotchas anyway.
Yeah.
So that was a good idea. Now, how about estimating the impact on the water rate?
I forgot that part.
It's okay. It's okay. I knew you wanted to talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, this is very important. Like we said before, this town meeting, we're asking the residents of this town to
Step it up.
in a few different areas, and for a lot of good causes.
Okay.
It's important that this isn't. We're not competing for tax dollars here. This is paid for by the water rates, which is slightly different. It still comes out of your pocket, but
At least you can control it.
you can control it. But it's an increase, and it's one that we don't take lightly.
Right.
So it's about a $9.50 additional charge per month.
Per month. Okay.
So $108 a year. Now that's not just for this article. The $7 million that we were appropriated last spring hasn't fully hit the rate yet because we haven't borrowed all that money since
Right.
we haven't had to build a plant.
Right.
So that additional $9.57 approximately, it's
Right.
Obviously an estimate, is for the impact of the rest of the $7 million and the additional $6 million.
Oh, good. All right. So that we know what the target is at least then.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So we've kind of talked around it, but you're implying very clearly that in the Springtown meeting, we're going to see some additional requests for appropriations based on the design and where the DEP actually goes with the maximum contamination levels. I mean, you're thinking it's 20 parts per trillion, but we don't know that's the 100%, or do you feel comfortable with that? So what do you think about additional things coming up in the Springtown meeting?
Yeah, I mean, and another thing we don't know about yet is, does this burden fall all on our ratepayers? And we're acting very diligently to try to find other funding sources. Whether that's through litigation. The DEP informed us yesterday that the governor and the attorney general are starting to look into litigating against chemical companies. So then that money will be returned to communities. We're looking at fingerprinting the PFAS we talked about before.
Right.
I was working with Senator Eldridge and Jen Peterson from Mass Water Works on maybe a partnership with UMass Lowell to try to fingerprint that and help target which chemical company it's coming from.
Right.
That's a kind of hard question to answer, but assuming it all falls on our ratepayers,
right.
We're probably back for another $10 million in the spring.
Okay.
And that's get more monies for Whitcomb Ave. So it's the additional PFAS treatment.
Right.
It's the expansion of plant.
Right.
PFAS treatment isn't inexpensive.
Yeah, Corey was talking about that. The whole process, whether you use the ionic or the cartridge-based environment, so yeah, it filters it out. But then, as he told us, the stuff's got to be incinerated in a rather hot furnace.
Right. So that's an O&M cost, but even just the capital cost of installing it. These are large vessels that take up floor
26
space.
feet?
Yeah, 24 feet tall.
Yeah, okay.
Depending on what you got, those are the carbon filters.
Okay.
The anion exchange are a little bit smaller.
All right.
One of the next steps that we didn't really talk about is we actually take our own water and test it against these processes to see which one's the most effective at removing PFAS.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because
So that would be
Corey didn't really say one way or the other. He said it could be do one or the other, and I was like, all right, so it sounds like a chemistry project
It
coming
is.
up.
It's exactly what it is, yeah.
Excellent.
So that, yes, and then some of that 10 million would be towards finishing off that transmission main.
Okay.
So there'll be 3 pieces that we come back in the spring. It'll all be in one article again, and that'll be it for the solution.
Okay. So, does the water department plan on holding public information sessions about the PFAS project and changes to the Whitcomb Avenue treatment facility? Because, we're not doing a bait and switch here. We're from what I'm hearing, you're being very open about, hey, we've got a crisis that was handed to us. It's an unfunded mandate, and we're trying to figure it out. And we wish it would be done for free, but there are costs associated with it. So how are you planning to go forward, possibly with some info sessions? I know in that, again, that newsletter you sent out, you let Corey be the spokesperson for some of these items, but tell us about, what you're thinking that way, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, I think, since we found in August that we had this situation, we've tried very hard through Facebook, through our website, www.lelwd.com/PFAS, PFAS, to try to get information out to the public, several mailers, but nothing, I think, speaks to the public more than those public information sessions.
Okay.
We do want to do one or more if we
Right.
need them.
Right.
Obviously, I think we'll be able to tell, judging after the first one. We're not quite ready yet because we don't really have any answers.
Right.
But we're getting close.
Okay.
And I think maybe December timeframe, maybe January, depending on the holidays, when when everything kind of falls into place.
Good.
We should get out in front of the public at a venue that the public can accompany a big space.
Right.
Because we talk about this stuff at our own board meetings as well, which are open to the public.
Right.
But for some reason we don't get the turnout there.
Right.
So I think if we do a session just based on PFAS, the public health effects of PFAS, what we're doing to solve that,
Right.
and put it in a location that the public is used to going to for public meetings.
Right.
I think it'd be a great way to get information out.
And then in something like that, you would include some folks from the DEP, because, beside being able to say PFAS in its proper chemical format, people are going to have questions. They're going to be concerned about being in that sensitive group and what may be done to help them if, they realize that they may not be able to afford bottled water or whatever else. So those are a lot of questions that folks are going to come forward with.
Yeah, I almost think CDM Smith, our engineering firm, could probably answer those questions the
good.
best. I think bringing the DEP in to an information session might scare people.
Okay.
Corey, myself, our staff, our engineering firm, might quell the fears easier.
Yes. Well, Corey's easy to get along with.
Yes, he is. But yeah, I mean, if the public wants DEP there, the public will get the DEP there for them.
Okay. Very open. Good. All right. Well, we want to thank Nick Lawler for coming in today, General Manager of the Light and Water Department, and explaining a little bit about what's happening for the whole PFAS scenario. Again, thanks for watching, and stay tuned to see what's happening at the Littleton Electric and Light Department, and Water, I should say. Thank you.